I think I have this ability too to come across the wrong way, and I'm not trying to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's just the way it happens.
For me, I'm keep it real. Like the very first time I went on the set and we were about to go up, I'm in my dressing room, and I looked at myself in the mirror. I said, "Look, whatever you do in this first episode is what everybody's gonna remember, and it's what they're gonna expect moving forward." I said, "Just go out there, have fun, be yourself, and everything will work out."
Yeah.
And it's like I tell people all the time, I feel like I could have came out here with a clown suit on and it would have been acceptable because of who I am and what people have seen me do. You can almost expect me to do anything at this point.
Well, that being said, you did wear something really fucked up on the last broadcast. I saw you. What was it? Can you pull up that picture, Eddie? You had like,
on the pay-per-view?
Yeah, it was like 2 ties or some shit you had on.
Oh no, never that.
What you had on something? I was like, what
No.
the fuck?
I had on. I had on. I thought I was fly. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I thought I was fly.
That's Cleveland fly.
I had a tuxedo style black blazer on, and I had on red pants.
That's what it was.
Right, and then I had black patent leather dress shoes with red suede in the middle.
Yes,
you know what I
you
mean?
did.
So
You certainly did.
I went all the way.
I think it might have been the shirt or something too.
Yeah, the shirt was it was plaid. It was red and white plaid.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
What? I said,
If anything, I do regret the red and white plaid
You
shirt.
probably made that one choice
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much that was
yeah.
like, yo. But again, we all made them fashion choices along the way. Because I think
I've
about
got
my
some-
first Def Jam, where I had on the cross-colored joint on my first Def Jam. I had the cross-colored shoes on.
Oh yeah, no, you did the wrong
green
thing that
suit,
day.
and then the cross-colored baseball cap with the suit. Like, yeah, you definitely can run in and go back in the day and be like, well, damn.
Oh, I made some major fuck ups with that too. I mean, I can't. You're not alone in this one.
You probably do it. Do you dance when you get dressed? Like, do you get dressed with music and find yourself in the mirror and you doing the dance, like feeling yourself?
No, I tend to stop and freeze and give myself like the blue steel look. Like, all right, bitches.
Well, my
here I
whole
come.
thing when I get dressed, my thing is gotta have music on.
Oh, yeah, no,
It
yeah.
don't matter what it is. It's normally some upbeat R&B, and by the time I'm finished, I'm in the mirror dancing because I'm feeling myself. That day I didn't dance. That's when I knew something was wrong.
Had you danced, you would have seen those checks meringue.
Yeah.
I sent dude a text. He sent me a picture of the shoes. I'm like, really? You gonna wear them shoes? Like, I mean, even in the text you could feel it. I know you could feel it coming from like, really? You gonna wear them shoes right there? I wouldn't, but you gonna do that? That's what you gonna do?
I did it.
Okay.
I did it.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, did you find the picture, Eddie? It was the last
Vincent
pay-per-view.
Garcia. Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all right though, but of course, those things too end up becoming like
A part of who you are.
part of who you are. People
Yeah.
gonna be like, yo, like I'm gonna see how Wild Dude gonna come with it. But that's the one thing, you don't want to end up finding yourself making a caricature of yourself too, like where
Right.
you find yourself stuck.
Right.
And like I gotta be out here wild, right?
Right.
'Cause I figured Butch Lewis must have did that the day he wore the shirt with no
Yeah,
suit with no shirt, and then
Sure,
he just
the bow tie and no shirt.
yeah, and then he just end up like, all right, now that's got to be my thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm stuck on this. It's,
know,
it's
if
damn
they
near-
ever-
it's 42 degrees out here. I ain't got no damn
You
shirt
can
on.
play Butch Lewis in a movie. You know that. Only kind like you
Hey.
put tuxedo
Yeah.
with no shirt.
For sure.
I did that back in the days, to pay the rent. I had to
Yeah.
do what I had to do.
Hey,
You know
man.
what I'm saying?
Ain't nobody's
I
judging
had
you.
that same outfit.
Hey man, I get it.
No,
I
I
get
had-
what you're saying, Kenny. I get what you're saying.
I had that same outfit. Yeah.
The reason you got 4 kids, I get it.
Three.
Okay, right. There you go.
Ain't nobody talking about the fourth child.
That time.
That's it, man.
What'd you do for work before, Kenny?
Everything you can think of. Let me see. Heat treatment plant. Unloaded tractor trailers. Clean shit.
That's a hard.
That's
Caught
oxymoronic. How do you actually clean
dogs.
shit?
Yeah,
You
I
can't touch this shit. It's clean.
If somebody shit on themselves, it was my job to.
Oh, you worked
Oh
at
yeah,
a
like
hospital.
in
Yeah,
like
did that.
hospice.
Yeah,
or
not just
something.
randomly walking down the street, man. Know some shit on you.
Yeah.
Want me to get that for you?
Yeah, let me
That'd be
get
$5.
Let me sterilize that for you. You got a machine.
Everything you could think of, but I got one of them jobs that had a 401k plan,
Right.
and I stayed there about 11 years. And I told my boss, I said, "Man, I'm gonna be leaving here. I'm gonna need to turn this in, and I need that money." And he said, "This is a bad idea, Ken. This is a bad idea. Don't do it."
But that's interesting too,
I
man.
bet on myself and bet on my kid.
Bet on your kid. Bet on your
You
baby.
got that tenacity. That's what I'm saying. And the idea that people use the term hustler, that's a thing that like kids use.
Yeah,
Like
that's
as
what the
this-
real hustle is.
They
People
don't
Yeah,
think a
they
hustler
use
is
this
only one
term
thing.
They
like
don't
it's
really
a
understand
thing,
it.
right? Like
Yeah, no.
that, and then ingrain that in a kid to where either the expectation is to see that you've been in the world and you can see other champions, and then somehow the kids affiliate that with you and say, this should be automatic for me, right? Exactly. But you gotta teach that grind, teach that hustle. You got a kid now too, right?
Yeah.
Young.
Yeah, 2. Well, it'll be 3 this week.
Yeah. So.
Oh wow.
That's that thing that I found. Like my son is 20 now, and he definitely been a privileged kid, but he's a good dude. Like he's a good kid, and it's that thing where you want to keep trying to instill in him the idea that your ideas right now, even the stuff that it ain't necessarily the thing that's going to define you. So you ain't gotta say you don't want to do something, right? Like you like go to college. Well, when I go to college, I don't want to be a doctor. Like just go, dog. Like you don't mean you gotta be a doctor just because you go. Like you know what I mean? Like, and that kind of mentality of putting shit in your basket, I like to call it. Like you got to put shit in your basket, man, so that when you get to wherever you going, you got resources, man. You got a bunch of little stuff that's like I can do a little bit of this. I can add this to that. You know what I'm saying?
Did you go to
ain't
college,
about like
Sid?
this. Yeah.
Where'd you go?
I went to Southeast Missouri. So, yeah, and my mother was a school teacher, so that was kind of thing. But I always knew that I was an entertainer. Like when I was little as a kid, like most kids, you see the Fame show, and I was like, I can do all of that. Like I can sing, I could dance. I was like, I used to tell my mom I could do all that stuff, Mom. Like, and she was she from a little small town. And we moved to St. Louis. So as an educator, single parent, she raised me and my sister. So she a young black woman. She just ain't taking no chances like that, right? It's like you got to go to school, you got to get a degree. This is what I know, right? And that was the way she did it. So it was that aspect of life. So I didn't really start my career till I was an adult. I was 26 the first time I got on stage.
Oh wow. Yeah, I worked a bunch of dumb jobs. I didn't go to college or nothing. I couldn't.
Okay.
It wasn't on the table for me. I wouldn't know what to do. What was I going to do? I hated school to begin with.
Yeah.
I was a shitty student. I don't like authority, so I just started doing stand up at 19. But I was still working. Like I sold fucking socks door to door. I sold fake watches.
Nice.
I sold shit. I sold little hash back in the day, a
Come
little
on, man.
weed. Nothing crazy, but just enough to make some like $20, $30.
Speaking of weed, that's funny. Like what, Ruben? Ruben like
dope man.
Ruben like what?
That's me.
Ruben Paul just entered the room. ladies and
What up,
gentlemen.
Ruben Paul?
The illustrious Ruben Paul. We have an extra mic, Court?
Nah.
You want to sit in on Ayo? You want to sit in on my mic, Rube?
Yeah, it's not gay.
Yeah, come sit beside me. Come sit beside me and Kenny Porter. There's Shawn. There's Ruben. It was actually really cool to see.
Yeah,
And then I said,
But I was trying to get to the strategies of how do you kind of like when marketing, when building a brand, right? And you got all these kind of upward, and you take chances on any fight, right? Even no matter how great you are, you're out there against another opponent, right? And you can say at any given night these things can happen. But do you make these choices? Like that's one thing too. I think is a stigma of boxing that people will try to ultimately control that so much that the fan, we like, y'all, come on, man. Like, y'all ain't fighting the real dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, all right, I need to get my guy right here so I can get this money right. is that truly the strategy in most cases? Like as stand-ups, we start out just really trying to be funny and just go. And then, when it starts to be a money business, then you do. You can't put yourself on stage with any and everybody. You got to be like, yo, even though you might have love, you be like, yo, I just can't go on stage with any and everybody because it'll mess up the brand that I'm building. That's my lane, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just imagining that's the same thing while also making sure that you're significant and that people respect your skill set, right?
Yeah, that's true in a lot of ways, and you can equate it to the entertainment business that you guys are involved with.
I mean, they're both businesses,
right?
At the end of the day, like I it happens to comics all the time. Like, well, I get approached like, hey, why don't we put you on a tour with Ced and George and DL? And I'm like, I have a completely different audience. I'm gonna eat a fat dick on their show. Like I'm not gonna do what I.
It is a trip that reminds me because when I did my Chicago special,
Oh man, I ate a fat dick.
But he was my partner, right? And I was like telling him, like, Russ, you one of the best, right? You could do this. Yeah. And he was like, Ced, I don't know. And I was like, you could do this. And it was one of those things that I feel that he had already got in his head that it wasn't gonna go well.
Yes.
And he kind of manifested it toward the energy.
Yes. I personally don't believe in ring rust, but I think it's a myth. But people talk about ring rust. In this situation with Conor McGregor, you took so long off, you probably should have been training a little bit harder or doing some things differently in training. That way you had taken yourself to a fight level. That way when it's time to fight, you're at that level.
I think the problem with Conor is that he's so much of a character. He worked on being the character as much as he worked on. Yeah. I think he worked on being the character, maintaining the character harder than he worked in the gym. And he looked physically good.
The even tougher part about it is now that energy is so far towards being the character that even in the loss, you can't get yourself together the correct way in the loss because you still got to be that character. You still got to have that energy.
And you can see the sparkle. A lot of fighters, when they lose that sparkle in their eyes when they get in the ring, you're like, this guy's not who he used to be.
I could see it like I watched the highlights and I could see it as the fight started. You just see it was something a little different with him.
Yeah, he didn't do the little gorilla walk thing. Like none of the stuff
all the swag.
Yeah, like you like, hey dog, like you not having fun with it right now. You thinking about like you need to win this fight. And you're now, you know, like we hear young people talk about worried about their brand. Yeah. You're like, dog, be funny. What is your brand? What
you know what I liken it to, and I think this is something that I think this is probably what's gotten into Eddie Murphy's head, is that Eddie's been away from stand up so long. When he comes back to it, Eddie is a smart enough guy because he watches it and he pays attention. Eddie's very in tune with everything that's going on in the world and around him.
And it's funny as hell.
He's funny as hell still, but people are going to expect Eddie to be Eddie from then. But so they don't give you room for growth. So if Eddie comes out and acts like how Eddie is, which is what he should do, he may get caught in the trap of trying to do an impression of what he used to do.
Yeah. Well, that's usually what happens. I mean, that and you know, that's the fear of the failure, right? Like, you know, which is when you're young and you coming up, it's less of a fear, even if you have a loss, right? Like as a stand-up, when you coming up, you bomb, you have a bad night, you just don't identify yourself as that because of the other nights that you were killed, right? Yeah. But the more you become famous and you have it, and you know, and then nowadays with more people having accessibility and something to say and people repeating it and you turn it to a meme and all these things, right? These are the things that allow you, that can, at this stage of success, which is, you know, the thing you got to be careful of. Like the more your branding becomes, you know, like I say, you do great at the Olympics, right? You do great, you know, commentating. And then you come out and then you have a fight where you don't shine. Everybody like, oh, you need to stay off that microphone, right?
Exactly.
It's the same with the young comics. When I see all these young comics who are willing to get on stage and do it anytime, anywhere. I remember being that guy. Mm-hmm. And that shit leaves you after a while. You go, fuck, I don't want to suck on this one. Then people start thinking he's deteriorated.
But I had a question for both of y'all. So you actually took me to the night of the fight, and I think a lot of fighters are like that, where we kind of live in certain moments.
Yeah.
And so when you say, you know, hey, you lost the fight, with Spence, and I know it didn't sit right with you. I'm like, no, like I was ready to see him again at that night, you know. And I actually kind of like went there in my feelings, like I went there to that night. Have y'all ever had a moment where y'all like bombed and y'all were like, I gotta get him back tomorrow night. I gotta get back.
That's how
to
it goes
this
every
city.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like for me, it's I see everything I see everything I did wrong the night before. I'm like, man, I left this out there. I should have said this. I shouldn't have said that. I should have said this way. And then you go, I'm gonna fix that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Speaking from a different perspective of Ced and Russ.
Speaking as a failed comic.
Wow. But I work more clubs than these guys work. So the fact that you have another show, and then sometimes I'm doing 2 show nights or 3 show nights, you just shake it off and knowing that you can figure out everything that you did wrong. During this pandemic where there's not a lot of live shows, if you have a show that's not up to par, it sits with you and it bothers you like, damn, I can't go on and get this off me, the next night,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, or the next show. So you kind of sit with it. And I could imagine when you're doing big theaters and arenas and stuff, when you're doing 1 show a night, you're like, damn, man, I forgot that one joke. You got to wait another week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, that's real. And I think when you brought that up, I always go back to that one for me. Like, and it was Bernie Mac and T.K. Kirkland.
Did he steal your wallet or something?
No. But it's one of those things when you kind of can look at the situation, maybe like like I was talking about with Russell, like explaining. We were in Miami. Miami's in Miami proper, it's notoriously a hardcore crowd. Like when you in Miami, not the South Beachy fun shit. This is like. This the Opalaka. This like some
They want to see some comedy.
Yeah, this some goddamn hood shit. Goddamn folk with these motherfuckers with these gold grills and shit. Hey, they come with that fuck shit. Said goddamn goddamn bullshit up there, man. I don't see no goddamn comic view shit. So you gotta go, man. And I remember, like you can attribute it to a number of factors though, but it was a lot of things I felt went wrong. Went on stage. Bombed, and then
Were you already you when this happened?
Yeah, I was somebody. I was definitely one of the people on the name.
You were
I was
comic view said
co-headlining.
then.
It was Bernie. Bernie was the headliner. Said then TK Marvin Dixon. Miami's finest, that kind of thing. Like so they ready. Hamburger Jones on the show. Hamburger ain't gonna have it, right? You know what I'm saying? But I just remember, like of course B Mac. Legendary, right? He goes up and I go right on before him, bomb, and it's like bomb to the point I gotta lead a stage bomb, like whoa, like
That's the worst feeling.
This
in the
ain't
world.
this one. I'm not doing my time
Where
tonight
you shouldn't
bombing.
say bye. You just
Well,
You want to say I apologize for tonight?
Oh.
And I had, if you will, because I had been there before, where I had credit with them, like they knew that, like, yo, you better than this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But on this particular night,
Yeah.
I gotta give up the reins, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so I'm not doing my time. So as a pro, that's the other thing. Like as a professional, you like as a pro, I'm not even being a professional right now because. I'm in such a rut and down that I'm not even getting ready to be a pro. Like I'm not even there to do my 30 minutes. Like I'm like 15 minutes in and it's horrible. Like it's like, yo, look, hey, everybody, wow, man, look, I don't know what's going on.
That's when you
You
do the.
know, like-
That's when you do the man crazy shit
Wow,
out there.
man, you just like.
That's when you know we're in a fucking rut. We go, fuck, man, crazy times, huh?
You know,
Crazy
and the
times.
crowd let me off the hook, but you leave with the shame of it, right? And I went and I wrote, man, I woke up the next morning, I took a walk and I was writing jokes, and I was just determined. But they changed the show order too. So that's the other thing. Now you feel even bad because now they now said, you can't follow TK. You
mean
gonna
I
have
got
to.
that fire tonight.
God damn, you know what I'm
I
saying?
don't even want it.
Yeah, but it became that thing where you definitely gun it back up, and luckily for like to Ruben's point, it was a 3-show succession, so I was able to come back to the same audience the next night and then kill, even though I wasn't in my spot no more, right? But it worked out. That's one of the things you learn too. Like it's like
That's
you
how-
you
that's
just
how
don't
boxing is.
you just don't follow
Yeah.
you don't follow blue comics if you're not a blue comic, right? Like I'm not getting ready to talk about the inside of your coochie like that, and
yeah.
I ain't that dude, right?
Yeah,
My comedy gonna hit you where it feel good and you laughing and you understand like
happy uncle.
yeah, and that's in it. But when you follow somebody who good at their job, like TK, really good at that, but he dark. Like these are things I learned. Like I ain't following Cat Williams. It ain't that I don't think I'm doper than him or none of that stuff, but I'm going to let Cat go. I'm going to go first because I don't do that. Like, I can't get the audience back after they've been cussed the hell out and blah, blah, blah. You just ain't going to be able to follow this type of artistic kind of thought process.
That's what you are in boxing. You're the guy nobody wants to follow.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's basically it. Like,
I'm a man
you
against
fight
fighter.
Shawn, you ain't going to look good. So it's like you follow certain guys, like, I don't want to follow that motherfucker. He's going to fucking do something. He's going to put him in a place I can't get to. In 2021, mental health is finally a thing. That's why we're excited to be sponsored by BetterHelp. If you're struggling right now and not really feeling like yourself, it might be because it has not been a good year. It's been pretty rough for most of us. Really, like me, you, everybody. So listen, you're not alone. If you're having a hard time, therapy helps. And it doesn't have to be the cliche, how does that make you feel kind of therapy. It can be whatever you want it to be. You can privately talk to somebody if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress, or you're having relationship issues, or if you're just feeling off in general. I mean, I know I was. I have my ups and downs. You're not alone. It's not exclusive to just, as they would say, regular people. Everybody gets this. So whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. I know I deserve to be happy, and if I deserve it, I'm kind of a scumbag. You definitely deserve it. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. If you're feeling up to it and you want to look at somebody and talk to them, by all means do that. But if you feel like being somewhat anonymous, you're more than welcome to that as well. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp and Culturally Canceled. Listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Peters. That's betterhelp.com/Peters. Now that the world is finally starting to turn again, I'm ready to pick up the pace and make things happen, people. I'm doing shows, I'm selling merch, and it feels really good to get back in the swing of things. And speaking of merch, you might have some merch, or I might have some merch. Somebody will have. Listen, we're all selling stuff. We all need to sell stuff. So we all need to make money. And if you're selling stuff at home, online, more people are shopping online anyway. That's why I think all online sellers need ShipStation in order to function well and be as productive as possible. I mean, no matter how much you sell, ShipStation makes it super easy to manage and ship all your orders from your sales channels faster, cheaper, and more efficiently. ShipStation allows sellers to import orders from any sales channel, ship with any carrier, access discounted shipping rates, and automate just about any shipping task. By doing all the heavy shipping, ShipStation allows you to think more about other stuff that isn't shipping. And that's a beautiful thing, because I don't really want to think about shipping that much. Because, to be honest, I got enough ship on my plate. You all know that I like to be a man and find a good deal. I'm good at it, but ShipStation is good at it too. They can get you fantastic discounts with major carriers like UPS, FedEx, and USPS. And they make it easy for you to compare shipping services so that you find the best deal. You don't have to haggle for a good price because ShipStation has your back. They'll find you killer deals that are usually reserved for Fortune 500 companies, and that makes me feel kind of fancy. No matter where you're selling, Amazon, Etsy, your own website, ShipStation funnels all your orders into one simple interface that you can manage from anywhere, even your cell phone. It's no wonder ShipStation has more 5-star reviews than any other shipping software. So, do yourself a favor and get yourself out of ship on the ship and abandon ship and join the ship. Are you sick of my ship right now? I am. So use ShipStation to ship more in less time. Just use my offer code PETERS to get a 60-day free trial. That's 2 months free of no hassle, stress-free shipping. Just go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone at the top of the page, and type in Peters. That's ShipStation.com. Enter offer code Peters. Make ship happen.
Last question on bombing, and we'll get off of that. But bombing? Yeah.
Why are you pointing at me?
I don't know. It just happened.
How dare you? You son of a Kenny Porter.
How does it happen?
How does it happen?
How does it happen? Is it the energy of the crowd? Is it the way you start? Like, how does it happen?
It's variable. I mean, for me, I do it to myself when I do bomb. I know I've done it to myself. And then there's times where I think in my head, you know what, I'm going to take this nervous energy and flip it. But if I don't get him with the one thing, it's kind of like hitting a guy with your best right hand and he shakes it off. You're like, well, God damn, I'm going to have a long night now.
Well, being somebody who not only being a comic, but helping comics with their sets, one thing that I'm very clear in looking at the audience's perspective to be able to help a set or Russ or any of the guys that I might work with. There's so many factors that can go into somebody having a good show or a bad show. And Cedric just named one of them. I'll tell the story. I was on the show when Chris Rock, you was on the show.
Yeah.
You was on the, so there's a famous story about when Chris Rock did Bring the Pain. And he did the set in Oakland. I don't know if you even remember this set. It was me, you, Mark Curry.
Yeah.
And Chris and you.
Yeah.
And you went on before Chris.
Yeah.
Now, I love Ced's like family. I know Chris. But Chris's energy is hard to match Cedric's energy. Doesn't necessarily mean Cedric's a better comic. They just have two different types of energies when they go up on stage. And Ced went out.
Shots fired.
And,
Shots fired.
It's different. Ced's like
exactly
fun to watch.
He's fun to watch.
Yeah.
He's Cedric the Entertainer.
Exactly.
This motherfucker got music cues. He's backing up the car.
Yeah, all that.
He's doing all kind of stuff. Crowd going crazy.
Yeah.
And Chris came out with the doing all that. And Chris comes out with this Emmy Award winning set that, you know, basically skyrocketed his career, but it was hard to follow after Ced that night. And that's just how it is. Like some nights.
And in a place like Oakland, too, because, you know.
You got to read the room.
You got to read the room. And Mark Curry's from Oakland, so
Yeah.
I imagine he would have killed.
Yeah, he hosted. So it's about being able to read the room, kind of just knowing what jokes. You might want to change orders sometimes of a joke depending on the temperature of the audience, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're following a dirty person, I'm a person who I'm pretty clean when I go up. Like Ced said, I might use profanity, but I'm not really sexual. Yeah. So if somebody is, you know, really doing dirty material and I got to go on after that, depending on sometimes it's how much time do you have to go up after somebody.
True.
Because sometimes if you got a longer time to burn, you can ease into it. But sometimes like, okay, I need to hit them right off the top of the head. Because if you don't, and that first joke don't hit, now you feel yourself climbing out of a hole. Right. Then your confidence starts to reel, and next thing you know, you're like, nigga, I'm bombing. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, that happens too, where you got a guy who goes on these high energy, and you're going on with your energy. Yeah. I'll sometimes tell the MC, I'm like, I do a couple of minutes, would you, before you bring me on? To clear the energy, basically.
Yeah. And here's one thing people don't understand about comedy, and Cedric and Russell know this. You can be a horrible comic and still kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How is that?
Because people think that just because you kill, you're a good comic. And that's not necessarily true. Now, from an audience's perspective, I get why you guys would think that because, wow, this guy made me laugh the hardest. But you don't know if he's doing other people's material. Yeah. Nothing that he's probably saying is true. Or it's just he got hot that night, but doesn't necessarily mean he's good at what he does. And I think the comics who get the respect that have the fame and have the respect is a level you're trying to get to. You know what I mean? Being a technician and actually being good at what you do.
Consistency. It's about your
being
consistency.
Dude, so here's the thing, Russ. Just like you guys are all friends, colleagues, y'all. This is what y'all do, all that kind of stuff. the same way I got online with Keith, and you like, yo, this ain't exactly what I thought this was gonna be. I didn't know. I didn't know it was gonna be like this. This is pretty cool, but I didn't know it was gonna be like we're just like y'all. Like, you know what I mean? We're not sharing secrets on, you know, how to fight a certain guy or anything like that. I'm damn sure not gonna tell Keith like what I'm gonna do next time I get in the ring with him.
Yeah, you're not
like
gonna be like,
that,
you know, if you would hit me with that hand again, I probably would have taken a knee. You know,
Right.
You're not gonna tell him.
But do y'all do that at all? Do y'all share material or say, hey man, I just wrote a joke about this? Don't do it. You know what I mean? Like, do y'all ever do that?
No, we'll wait and see, and then they'll be like, well, all right, well, that guy just did a joke way too similar to one I was gonna do.
Yeah.
I'll drop it that night because I'm like, I don't want
Yeah.
to fucking him to think, I just did that joke, and I'm like, I know, but I did my version of it. I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you with these two, and then I'll let Ced take over, is sometimes as a comic, and this is natural for me to do it, but I'll see Ced do something, I see Russell do, and I go, man, if you say this one word right here at this spot, like we call it a tag, like Ced.
Sure, right.
You know, that joke you got?
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of saying this? And Ced might go, damn, perfect.
That's
I
good.
was looking for a little something different to do that.
Let me explain what Ruben is for me. First of all, Ruben's a great comic, and he's one of my best friends in the entire world. But Ruben, to me, is like my Emmanuel Stewart. Because I'll go out there and I'll figure out what I'm going to say. I'll work on my set, and then I'll have Ruben come watch me, and he'll stand there and go, you need to put this bit there. He'll organize the set to where when I run it runs way smoother and tighter. And because he's got the outside eyes. It's like listening to your corner, you know.
And
They see shit you don't see.
It's important for comedy that people don't really attribute it. It makes me think about the rap game, how people go like, you don't write your own raps or blah, blah, blah. Now, comedians definitely got to have their own brand, but you definitely, if you are performing at a high level, a lot like having a trainer, a lot like having someone in your corner that's looking at it, not from the perspective that you're in it, right? Because you're up there doing it, and you don't know you keep dropping your hand, right? You just ain't. You ain't seeing yourself do it because somehow in your mind you just faster than him. You don't see that you keep dropping your damn hand, dog. He gonna bust you, and you like, nah, I'm good. I got this motherfucker, right? And that's what another comic, if you got good friendships and people ain't hating, which as much as it seems like you would hear about it, for the most part, I find comedy a very enclosed fraternity. It's a few people that people just don't fuck with. Yeah. But in general,
That's true.
Very true.
But in general, it is a fraternity of want to see you rock. Like I want to see you go out and kill.
Like if Ruben and I went to go see Ced, he was like, yo, we're gonna go run my set, and we're like, we'll go watch.
Right.
We'll watch, and then we'll come, like Ced, here's some shit we thought maybe you want to use, maybe you want to change this to that. But we're not writing for him.
Right.
We're just giving him suggestions on other ways to look at the same situation.
Yeah, and here's another interesting perspective that these guys might not have that I have is, you know, these guys are comedy stars. So someone I go like if you got Malik or whoever, a guy like myself, there's a few Chris
You got
Spencer.
Malik S with you?
You know,
Yeah.
there's
Malik's a fucking beast.
yeah.
Too. Malik S. He just goes
Malik
like
S.
Malik S. You
He
got to
goes
use your
like
mic
Malik.
though, Sean.
So there's a handful of us guys who are good comics who work under bigger comics. And sometimes people go, well, how can a Ruben Paul give a George or a Cedric or a Russell advice or perspective? Because we're all comics at the end of the day, and good comics know good comics, whether you're famous or whether you're at, you know, the middle level
Y'all all
comic.
kind of think alike, huh?
Well, you appreciate somebody for being exactly who they are, right, in the situation.
Yes.
And so like you understand that like with comedy, it comedy and stardom, this shit comes somehow. It come how it come, right? You can't. Because like it made me think of my young guy JJ that also worked for me. Again, not a person you really just want to run your ass up on stage afterwards, no matter who you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Now, will he ever be super famous? I don't know. Like, it's not saying that he can't be, but again, he's kind of like found himself in journeyman status, right?
Thing with boxing.
Yeah, and you're right.
same
You
thing
like,
with
damn,
boxing.
but this
Exactly.
motherfucker cold, dog.
Yeah.
Like, and
There's
I
guys-
respect that.
Yeah, there's cats you saw in the amateurs that you were like, if that dude ever went pro, he'd be a fucking world champ. There was guys I knew in my gym that I was like, there was a kid the guy that brought me into the boxing world, This guy Willie, I mean, I'm telling you, this kid was slick. He had cat-like reflexes. I would think he was at the end of the jab. I was like, I know I'm going to hit him, but he would move enough where you didn't see him move, and you're like, why the fuck I can't reach this guy? And he didn't even know he was doing it. He was just like, what? You slow? You missing me? And I'm like, no, you fucking slick. These guys, some slick. It's some of the best comics I know. Some of the funniest dudes I ever seen are guys that you'll probably never see.
Right.
They're never going to get a special. They're never going to become something, but they're incredible comics. They got brilliant minds.
I think it's timing. It's destiny. You know what I mean? Right place. But I know one thing for sure: you won't make it if you quit. So as comics, as a JJ, how you talking about, who's absolutely hilarious. Myself, there's a lot of comics who've been grinding a long time, who are very good at what they do, but haven't reached that top level, and some have quit. And then you find other ways to make money. I found other ways to make money until I can get to that next level. But I know I won't get to the next level unless I just keep working. So a lot of us, the JJs, the Maliks, the guys who are really good at comedy but not a household name, the mentality is I'm just going to keep being funny. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep writing. And if it's God's will, then I will go to that next
And
level.
that's the thing you got. That's the thing I think that most comedians love and understand and appreciate about other comics, right? Because one, if you look up, I always say this, you know, I'm 30 plus years doing this, and somebody that's still doing it, like no matter on what level, you look up and they still make their living doing comedy. You like, yo, dog, like you still, like you happen to be in the same room I'm in at any given time. Like for real though, dog. Like, cause it's gonna be a few people that's gonna be famous and they gonna, be at another level. Then you see people that you've seen along the way that you know that they legit and that they still doing their thing. And that's what you give props to. You like, yo, this is cause the day you decide you're gonna be a comic, like like stop doing whatever it is you're doing. I ain't doing that job no more. God damn it, I'm gonna stand up.
Right.
And in that level of trust, faith, and believing, like I'm gonna take a microphone and I'm gonna go out here and make a living.
Yeah.
Like that's some wild ass choice, right? Because
I know for me, when I got into it, I didn't have any delusions of becoming rich and famous. It was never even a thought in my head. It was just like, I just want to do this and be able to make a living. If that involves making $2,000 a week, perfect. That to me, I was like, that's $8,000 a month. That's a lot of fucking money. If you grew up with no money. I grew up with no money, so to be making like $80,000 a year doing stand up, I'm like, I'm winning.
Yeah.
Same thing with me.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
When I came to my dad and told him I wanted to turn pro, I told you I didn't turn pro till I was 21. I wanted to turn pro when I was 18. And it wasn't that we was broke and in the gutter or nothing like that. I just wanted more than what we had, and I knew that we could get more from boxing. Coming out of the gate, it wasn't being a world champion, it wasn't being a multi-world champion, or even being a multi-millionaire. When I was 18, I didn't really even understand what that meant. All I knew was I'm ready to fight now. I'm ready to make money now. My dad said, "Take your time. We're gonna go for these Olympics." I turned pro when I was 21. It's the best decision I could ever make. I wasn't ready when I was 18. I was ready, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah, everything happens when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
It'll happen when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
I think as a comic coming up, you got to protect yourself from the bitterness. Like somebody like me, 6 months into doing comedy, I was touring with Jamie Foxx doing theaters. So when you're around superstar comics, and then going from that to George Lopez to Russell, and then being around Ced, doing dates with him, you have to really be confident in yourself and your own ability. Like I'm not jealous of any of my friends. No, but on the reals, like I'm happy for all their success. When I met Russell was already Russell, and Ced was just about to blow. But for me, it's more inspiration, where you have a lot of comics that they become jealous and bitter, and they let that run their career, and that sometimes keeps them from reaching their full potential, getting to where they need to be.
He used to work with D.L. Hughley's father.
Yeah.
At the airline.
At Delta Airlines. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell him about that.
So when before I started doing comedy, everybody was like, "You should do comedy." So I went to this place called Birdland West, and I had just turned 21, so I was like, okay, I can actually go to a club. And I went, and it was jam-packed with black people. And I had never, this is before Def Comedy Jam or anything. So you only thought the only black comics was Bill Cosby, Richard Pryor,
You
Flip
weren't
Wilson, or
invited,
whoever you saw. And I saw DL perform. I had never done comedy before. I get off stage. He comes right to me. He was like, "You enjoy the show?" And I'm like, DL. You know, after lights come on, he's walking around meeting and greeting everybody. And I was like, I'm thinking about doing this. He's like, "Oh, you should do it, man," and just walks away. So I'm working at Delta Airlines. I was in college working at Delta Airlines. And this is like a few years later, I had actually started doing comedy while I was working at Delta. Then his father calls me out of the bin. He's like, "Come here. And whenever the old timers call you, you got to drop everything and come down." She's like, "Hey, man, I heard you doing this comedy stuff." And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You might know my son." I said, "Who's your son?" He goes, "Daryl." I go, "Man, I don't know no Daryl."
Daryl Heath?
No.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And he goes, "Oh."
One of my favorites, by the way.
He's like, "Oh, you might know him as DL." I said, "DL Hughley is your son?"
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah." This is how long ago. I run to the break room. I call DL. I was like, "Yo, I work with your father." He's like, "Nigga, you work at Delta?" I said, "Yeah, man." Then he goes, "Do my father really be working?" I'm like, "Man, your father don't be doing shit."
Remember that? Remember said the night we found this out? We found out that Ruben was DL's
Oh, he
dad's
wasn't there that night.
Yeah, he wasn't
No,
there?
I'm
wasn't
kind of
there.
hear the
That was
story.
the That was the night we found out that DL's dad was Ruben's. Was
I love DL. That was my
Ruben
boy.
Ruben was DL's dad's
Favorite son.
Favorite son.
DL's like, "He used to do that with you. He was mean to me."
What do you mean he played catch?
Yeah, this
Y'all went to the Grand Canyon.
we go to Dodger games together and everything.
At the funeral, they showed pictures of Ruben and his dad.
Oh no.
But it's a small world, and those are the things that are kind of like meant to happen. So, like said, and like you're saying, you can't tell. Like said, how do you become famous? I don't know, but I know it starts from being funny.
Yeah.
How do you become world champion? I don't know how that what that journey is, but I know I have to be a great
You
boxer
just got
to
to
do
be
it.
consistently.
And that's what it's
focused
about.
At just being the best that night.
And there's no, especially for comedy. If I was an athlete, it'd be over. But for comedy, there's no statute of limitations on success.
There's no
I mean,
expiry date.
Rodney Dangerfield didn't make it until he was in his mid 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
you find it late sometimes.
yeah, some people find it late. So it's about, do you love what you do? And when I look at you as a boxer, I go, damn, no wonder nobody want to fight, because you could tell this dude likes to fight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
He likes to fight, but he's not a knucklehead. Great guys. I want to thank all my guests for being here today. I want to thank young Kenny Porter, Kenny K.O. Porter, for holding it down for us.
Thank you for having me.
Young Ruben Mancito Paul.
Yes, yes. He just met his dad. It's so great. It's DL's
Sean
father.
Showtime Porter.
Or was it
WBC.
Showtime Shawn Porter?
It's Showtime.
Sorry, Showtime Shawn
I was
Porter.
gonna let it slide.
You know, listen, man.
I was gonna get you off air.
You know, I can run. Not that quick. Ruben will block you with his shoulders. And my youngest sibling, Cedric the Entertainer.
The Entertainer.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in today and listening to this episode of Culturally Canceled with Russell Peters. Catch us next time when we talk to I don't know who. That's the exciting thing about all this.
This is Russell's house for you, though. Anybody knows that I always say this. You never know who's going to be at Russell's house. It is, you look over and you be like, is that Flo from Progressive? She just... Is that...